Adam. Friedrich. Well, because I was like, wait. For a second, I questioned. I was like, I'm opening, right? Because you're doing the first chapter. So then I was like,
oh, I forgot to write it down.
Forgot to write what?
The name of the chapter for you to read.
Oh, I remember. Chapter 19, Elf Tales. I didn't really think that this was the correct name for this chapter because the elves just come in like right at the end. So I don't think she could think of a name for the chapter.
I don't think so either. And it has nothing to do with, sometimes it'll be like, oh, like tales, like they're telling a story, but it's not that either. So I was like, what's the name of the chapter? Why?
Also, I don't know. Well, we'll get into it anyways. Yeah, this week we read chapter 19, Elf Tales. Adam, what happens in this chapter?
Okay, in this chapter, Ron recovers from his glass of mead that he had.
Yeah, don't drink mead, y'all.
Harry is injured at a Quidditch game and has an idea of how to find out what Malfoy is up to.
Yeah. At the last second of the chapter.
At the
Keep
last
that in mind,
little
readers.
second. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the chapter starts out, Ron is in the hospital wing. Fred and George are also here. They just happen to be in Hogsmeade. Yeah, they just showed up. So they were in Hogsmeade, I guess, because they're thinking of buying Zonko's joke shop in Hogsmeade.
I liked this.
Because their business is doing so well.
Prime real estate for their little shop.
They're trying to gentrify Hogsmeade.
What did we say? There's already shops there, Adam.
They're trying to gentrify. They're trying to bring a Chipotle into Hogsmeade.
What is it? Zonko's. Well, essentially, they'd be buying out another like joke shop,
local beloved community business, a small business from the community. Are we big London fuckers?
I was going to say, are we supposed to believe that they're the joke shop monopoly now? They've gone corporate. Weasley and Weasley.
I mean, I guess if the two. Diagon Alley and then Hogsmeade is the biggest wizarding village in the UK.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense to build it there. But why don't you just build another? Why do you have to buy Zonko's? Why can't you just open a store?
Is that just that's we're just getting like some type of messaging that other shops are not doing very well during this time? Is that
maybe because it's not going well.
Yeah, I guess.
But then they were saying they might not even do it because students aren't allowed out of school.
Exactly, yeah.
To go to Hogsmeade anymore. So what's the point?
Yeah.
So they're considering buying Zonko's, so they were originally intending to stop by the castle to give Ron his gift in person since it's his birthday.
Yeah.
And obviously he's incapacitated in the hospital wing. From his glass of mead that had poison in it. Bum, bum, bum. Right. Yeah.
Can you remember what was your worst birthday? Do you have a worst the worst birthday ever story?
I mean, my worst birthday is like 2020 because it was like 5 days after the pandemic started.
Oh, okay. But you never had a birthday where like something
went wrong
happened or something. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Did you have one?
I think
Did you also get poisoned?
Yeah, I got poisoned. I don't really remember having a birthday that was like actively bad. I was trying to think. There were definitely birthdays like where when I was growing up, I felt like not seen on my, like I went to my dad's, I think from like with, what year was it? Maybe I was like 11 or 12 or something like that. Like on my actual birthday. I don't really, this is like so dumb though. This is obviously like, to be clear, this is like a child being like, oh, that wasn't like a good birthday. Not like me as an adult now, but
that's, I think when you, as a kids birthdays are so huge for kids.
Yeah.
We're like, as an adult, you're like, it's my birthday.
Yeah.
That's it.
And to be clear, my mom was really good at making my birthday like a big thing. Like I'd always have friends over. Typically I'd do like a little sleepover and we put on a little play. I'd get everyone like a little goodie bag with like party favors in it. Like we would go all out. It was like, yeah, it was a good time. But there was one birthday where it was like, I remember I didn't really like ice cream cake. I don't know why there was this trend in a couple years when we were like 11 to 12 where everyone had like ice cream cakes. And I remember my mom got me an ice cream cake. And I think it was like the exact cake that she got for like her partner Lisa at the time, or I should say girlfriend, because they were never like officially partners, but she got something for Lisa at the time. And so it very much felt like she just got the same cake for me, like a little bit later. I don't know if it was because Lisa's birthday would have been after mine. So maybe it was for something else for Lisa. I can't remember. But then I went to my dad's, or my stepmom, my now ex-stepmom. I went to her house and then I had a full chocolate cake, and I did not like chocolate cake at that age. Like full chocolate cake, chocolate frosting.
Chocolate frosting. It's the cake from Matilda.
So I had like 2 bites of it, and I just remember feeling very like unseen is how I felt, that I was like, no one like knows what I even like, or like what cake I like. No one got me. To be clear, my favorite cake is just like either a vanilla or a strawberry cake with like vanilla frost, like very plain, a very like plain birthday cake, or funfetti, like that type of vibe. So I was like, oh, no one like even knows like what kind of thing I want. And then I can't remember. I don't think I got like any presents or anything. I think it was just the cakes. And then maybe later I did something for my birthday, like in the weekend I had like a party or something. I can't remember now. But I remember that day, I just remember feeling very like, no one even knows what I would want for my birthday. Everyone got me like stuff I couldn't really eat. I didn't like ice cream cake, and then didn't like chocolate cake. So I had like 2 bites of each, and then was like, thank you. Like had to be like, oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. Do you think that there is like a slice of cake that appears at like the evening meal in front of birthday people who are celebrating their birthday?
Oh, at Hogwarts? No, I never thought about that, but I really like that. Like their personal favorite.
Yeah.
Whatever their favorite type of cake is, or if they like cheese,
or a little cupcake, maybe.
Yes, like whatever they like, whatever they prefer is like just sitting in front of them. I like that. That's HP Anxious canon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway. So Hermione has like barely spoken. She is fretting about Ron, obviously.
Yeah, they're friends again.
They're friends again. Apparently. Well, I mean, they're friends in that she's there. She's they haven't really talked.
Yeah, she's his friend again.
Then they have the conversation. They're having this conversation about like, how did this poison come about? So first they're like, well, did Slughorn poison Ron? And they're like, well, that's ridiculous. Why would they do that? Then they were like, well, did he mix the glasses up and Slughorn was trying to poison Harry?
I feel like Harry is obviously the target. If anyone was going to be targeted out of him and Ron. Do you know what I mean? Right.
So they were like, I don't know. Slughorn doesn't seem the type to like want to try to kill Harry Potter. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. Agreed.
And then they discover, or Harry's like, well, he had gotten that mead to give to Dumbledore, so maybe it was intended for Dumbledore. But then Hermione's like, well, then they don't know Slughorn at all, because of course he was going to keep that mead for himself. So maybe they're trying to get rid of Slughorn himself. And then Harry's like, he does have something. Voldemort knows Slughorn has something that it would help Dumbledore.
So this is the thing, which at this point, if you're going back through and reading these books, like as an adult, you should know typically what Hermione is suggesting tends to be the closest to the truth. Like you should just know. But I think what she says about how it's like, I think someone had the intention of giving it to like Dumbledore or whatever, but because they don't know Slughorn, and because they just don't care, basically. Mm-hmm. Like if the mead ended up somewhere else, they're like, well, I'm just trying, to try and get him, and I don't care if there are any casualties. I was like, that makes the most sense in terms of, but maybe I'm saying that obviously knowing what's going to be revealed later. Like, I can't remember what I thought the first time I went through this book. I can't remember.
I will say this. We're recording 2 episodes today. Peek behind the curtain. And the next chapter, I have no memory of. Like that whole, the first memory in the next chapter, I was like, this is like my first time reading this.
Oh my God.
I was like, it answers so many questions that I was like, I should have been paying more attention the first time I read this book.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I love that though. That's always fun whenever I get to witness you being like, this is all new to me.
Yeah. Brand new information.
He's romping around. Oh,
all right.
Sweet.
So, maybe the bottle itself was poisoned, blah, blah, blah. Voldemort maybe.
Wait. I'm sorry. The bottle itself is in the glass? That's what they're trying to say?
No, like the stuff in the bottle itself was poisoned. The whole bottle of mead was poisoned, not the glass of mead.
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Sorry. I missed that. I was like, of course the mead was poisoned. I was like, what are they talking about? They thought it was something else. I see. Okay. So they're genuinely thinking that he put poison in the mead in just the glass.
Yeah.
They don't. That's weird. I missed that completely. I thought they were clear on the fact that all of the mead was poison.
Well, no, sorry, I'm just going back over my notes. This is how I was writing it out. So the first concept was that Slughorn poisoned just that glass, and then he mixed it up, who he was supposed to give it to. But then after that, the conversation turns into, then it must have been the whole bottle that was poisoned. Because when it's written down in the last chapter, if you go back and read it, it's like, as soon as they toast, Ron throws it back immediately.
Yeah.
Before they even have a chance to think. And then it happens so quickly that obviously they don't take a sip either.
But they can't, there's no way of testing in the wizarding world. There's no way of testing a poison to find out what kind it was or where they could have gotten it, specifically where it came from. Cause I'm surprised they don't look into the mead itself anymore after this. It's kind of just dump out the rest of that mead because it's poison.
Well, yeah, because what is the poison? Is it an actual potion that was added, or is it just an actual natural herb that was thrown? Is it
Yeah. Well, again, we didn't learn anything about poisons. We learned about antidotes to poisons, but even in that, we were like, but how are you just making these poisons?
Yeah.
Anyway, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Ron says Hermione's name in his sleep. So they're in love.
Was that because he heard her voice? That was the only thing. I was like, why does he randomly say her name right then?
I think he's just.
But it was because she was talking.
Her.
No, she was talking when he said it. So I thought it was he senses it. He hears her.
He hears her. He's responding. So then, and we've talked about this before. I don't remember if it was this book or the last book, but we've talked about this before, and it bugged me again. So I'm going to read it.
Okay.
Hermione, croaked Ron unexpectedly from between them. That's not how it's written. It says Hermione.
Hermione.
They all fell silent, watching him anxiously, but after muttering incomprehensibly for a moment, he merely started snoring. The dormitory doors flew open.
Oh, yeah. Again. So she really is just calling it a dormitory?
I hate it. I hate it so much. Just say the doors flew open. If you really don't want to say the hospital wing's doors flew open because it's a bit of a clunky sentence.
Yeah.
That's fine. Just say the doors flew open. Nobody's going to assume that the doors flying open is Madame Pomfrey, especially when it says, and Hagrid strode into the hospital wing.
Yeah, I'm
I don't like dormitory. I don't like it. I do not like it. It really bothers me. Is that what they
call? Do they call hospital wings dormitories here? I haven't heard anyone say that. I haven't heard anyone say hospital dormitory or anything like that.
I mean, I guess the idea is that because it's like the equivalent would be like the nurse's office in like American school, but because they're in a boarding school and you can stay there overnight, it is technically a dormitory. It's its own living quarters while you're in the hospital wing.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't call it a dormitory. I'm sorry. Like, it can be legally understood as that, but I do not like calling it a dormitory. It's so strange to me.
You're like, I'm really not calling it that. Yeah.
I'm not calling it that, Joe.
Oh, wow.
Hagrid comes in to visit because he's heard what happened.
Mm-hmm.
He is obviously, stressed about Ron. Madame Pomfrey is like, there's only 6 people allowed for visiting at a time. And then they point out that Hagrid makes 6. Like, yeah. And she's like, because obviously he's so big. She's like, he's like 3 people. So then they have a conversation. Maybe there's a connection. Hagrid's theory is that someone's trying to take out the Gryffindor Quidditch team.
Just because
it was Katie and Ron.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the only connection. I think it should have been presented more as the only connection is that both of these people are on the Quidditch team.
Yeah.
Because it's like someone is trying to murder Quidditch team players. School Quidditch players.
George says, like, well, to be fair, I do think Wood would have poisoned someone to knock them out of Quidditch. I thought that was funny. But no, Hagrid, that's not.
It's not what's going on, I'm afraid.
That's not what's going on. Have you opened the Daily Prophet recently? There's a lot going on in the wizarding world. Hermione points out the real theory, the real connection is that the things that poisoned or attacked or caused harm to both Katie and Ron were clearly intended for different people. But they have, through some luck, managed to be not fatal and also not harm who they were meant to harm.
Yeah. Right. Not get to the person they were intended for.
Whoever's sending these items is not really good at what they're doing.
Oh, no. Messy job.
Messy.
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Weasley come in as they had been talking to Dumbledore. They come into the hospital wing and Mrs. Weasley gives Harry like a big hug and she thanks him for saving Ron. And she points out that Harry has now saved Ginny, Arthur, and Ron's lives.
Count them.
3
Weasley lives.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And given a bag of gold to Fred and George, which Mrs. Weasley doesn't know. So.
Right. Yeah. Started a career.
Yeah. Invested in there.
Mm-hmm. A
their
producer.
Small business.
PD Nim. So now that there's more than 6 people, Hagrid, Hermione, and Harry all leave the Weasleys to stay around Ron. And they go out and talk in the hallway. Hagrid says, you know what? This is feeling like the Chamber of Secrets all over again. And it really does. It does feel like... It's funny that Hermione's the one who points out that like all these people just by pure luck and coincidence are like not dying because of these things that are happening, because also that was what was going on with Basilisk. It just happened to look through nearly headless Nick. Like
I just
all the fun ways.
The best thing about the Basilisk thing is the portraits on the walls and how like there had to have been a portrait that saw. There's that.
It's a massive snake.
I'm like, what corridors don't have any photos in them? Like, because the snake the basilisk was pretty much going through like normal hallways as far as we know.
You know who else Harry could ask? We'll get to in a second, but you know who else Harry could ask to tail Malfoy through the castle? Sir Cadogan.
Yeah.
He'd be happy to do it.
Or a ghost, anyone. I mean, I guess the ghost might be like, I don't want to. But yeah, it's weird. It's so weird with there are some similarities between this book and Chamber of Secrets, but also in Chamber of Secrets, we get a description of the Hand of Glory, like how to like properly use it and stuff like that, and that comes through. The only time that actually like comes full circle is in this book. So it was like something that was like so long ago that does actually end up getting used by a character in this book. But yeah, it's interesting. There's a couple of connections between.
Well, and that's the introduction to Borgin and Burkes, just generally, which we get into the history of here. And then
the vanishing cabinet is what Harry hides in from Malfoy in the second book. It's that vanishing cabinet. I think he says. Does he say in that it's broken? No, I can't remember
because I don't think he knows that it's a vanishing cabinet.
No, yeah, but I can't remember.
It's the one here that's broken. It's the one. Here being not here in Chicago. Sorry, the one at Hogwarts is the one that's broken.
The one in Chicago. The one at Hogwarts is broken. Okay. Yeah, because I guess then because if Harry would have hidden in that vanishing cabinet, he would have. Yeah. So there you go.
Really would have changed the course of the book series.
Yeah. Whoa.
But the broken thing feels like Joe being like, "Oh, I have to explain why Harry didn't end up at Hogwarts." So she's like, "The other half is broken. The portal's closed."
Yeah.
Then Hagrid reveals that Dumbledore is angry with Snape.
Oh yeah, we can always count. We can always count on Hagrid for these moments.
Yeah, he's mad at Snape.
I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that.
And then Harry's like, "Why is he mad at Snape?" And he's like, I shouldn't. I don't even know anything. Blah blah blah.
Snape? Who's Snape? I'm sorry.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
And then he finally reluctantly agrees or reveals that he overheard the argument. Snape was like, "I don't want to do this anymore." And Dumbledore was basically like, "Sorry, sweet cheeks. That's what you signed the fuck up for. You have to do it." That was the argument.
I never in my life thought I would imagine Dumbledore saying "sweet cheeks" to Severus Snape.
Severus Snape.
Oh, no.
Which is very funny. So that happens, and then Harry's obviously like galaxy braining, like
the gears are turning.
Yes, the gears are turning. And then Filch walks up and is like, "Students, out of bed. It's past midnight. Detention." Hagrid calls him a fucking squib like down the hall. And I was like, oh.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Because, like, Filch could just be like, "Okay, half giant, like, you want to do this?"
Okay, half giant ass bitch.
Like, bitch, yeah. So then while they're arguing, Hermione and Harry run away.
Yeah.
And then Hermione kind of goes straight to bed.
What do you think happened? I bet Filch like ran at Hagrid and then Hagrid just did like one of these.
And he's like,
yeah. Yeah.
They go to bed. Hermione goes to bed. Basically, as soon as they get to the common room, they barely talk about what they overheard or what they heard from Hagrid. And then Harry is like too in his thoughts. So he sits in the common room. He's alone and he's staring at the fire, thinking about like, he's mad. He like Snape needs to do what he needs to do. He wasn't investigating something like that. So maybe he isn't questioning Malfoy enough, blah, blah, blah. So maybe Dumbledore does believe him that it's Malfoy, but he doesn't want to tell Harry he believes him because he doesn't want Harry to act rashly. So that's why he was like trying to, but maybe like,
you know, do you know what it's giving? It's giving Timothée Chalamet during the end credits of Call Me by Your Name when he's like,
just looking at the fire and crying.
But just like Harry just sitting there like,
yeah.
Oh, it's like slow pan in on his face.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And then all of a sudden, Harry hears someone else is in the room. Cormac McLaggen fell asleep in one of the like armchairs waiting for Harry to come back. And he's also here. Ugh. And he literally, Ron was poisoned. I want to be very clear about the day's events. Ron was poisoned. And he's like,
not even 24 hours ago.
Maybe 12. Maybe 12.
Maybe, yeah.
He's fully like, oh, well, since you're here, let's get to talking about Keeper. I mean, obviously, we've got a game coming up. I have to be Keeper. And Harry's like, okay, fine, sure, whatever. It doesn't matter. And he's like, okay, so when's practice? And I can be there. And, I'm happy to give you some tips on how to captain the team.
Actually,
I've been writing down some notes. And he's like, I'm going to bed. I'll see you at practice on Tuesday or whatever. Over the next couple of days, Harry is like still checking that Marauders map. He's still trying to keep an eye on Malfoy, and Malfoy keeps disappearing from the map. This is just so annoying to me. It's so annoying, specifically because he had to use the map for them to leave the room of requirement safely last year. Like, she wrote that as a plot point of that book.
And also,
if he had never done that, then I would be like, oh, he doesn't realize that people disappear when they're in the room of requirement. But he would know people are gone when they're in the room of requirement. He would have to know that.
And also, the entrance to the room, does it move around?
No, it is a fixed
so it
point.
would be in that one corridor.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what's behind the wall that like changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, Harry.
Unless the only thing, and I don't really even believe this, but if I want to like be like, fine, I'll give him
the benefit of the doubt.
If you're in the room of requirement, maybe the map then shows who all is inside. So then he never actually learned that it does hide who's in the room of requirement. But I don't actually believe that either. But that's the only out I can give her.
I don't think he's ever looked at the map when they're in there.
He would check.
It's like he on would the check, way,
He would, when they would like send people out slowly during DA.
From within the room.
From within the room, he would check to make sure the coast is clear and then send like a group of 2, a group of 3, whatever.
Okay.
That's the only explanation I can give, but okay. Lavender has become...
He just like body slammed that pillow.
Lavender has become a little chatty Cathy to Harry.
Oh yeah. Do you know what though? I did feel for Lavender in like one situation with this. I don't think that she should all of a sudden be talking to Harry about Ron's feelings for her. That is so awkward.
That's weird.
Maybe Parvati was like, "You can't talk to me about this anymore."
Maybe I would buy that.
But when she said like, "I am his girlfriend after all," I was like, "Yeah, I agree." But maybe is that Ron not
someone should have told her, hey, he's in the hospital wing.
Yeah. So I was like, that part is like,
that's fair.
The fact that she's trying to talk to Harry, I was like, girl, you picked the wrong person. First off, he's not going to talk to you about anything. He doesn't even talk to his own friends about anything.
Girl, he doesn't talk to himself about his feelings. What are you talking about?
Exactly. I'm like, that's going to be too much for him.
so she's like trying to find out more about Ron's feelings for her and if they're like serious. And Harry's finally like, you really should just talk to Ron about it. And she's like, he's always asleep when I'm there. He's always sleeping. And he's like, ooh, oh boy. Well, I don't know. Good luck. Why did I write this? Oh,
what did you write?
Lavender is like something about Hermione and how she doesn't like Hermione. And she insinuates that the only reason Hermione like cares or has been like there is because since Ron got poisoned, he's now interesting.
I don't know what that was about. I was like, girl.
Wouldn't it be fair to say that the only reason... Well, I guess no, because it was clear, it was evidence that she liked him before he won the Quidditch match. But I was going to say, the first time they made out was after the Quidditch match.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that be like, girl, you thought he was interesting...
Yeah, after he won a game. Yeah. I guess because she was all into him from the start of this book, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She was all like giggly around him.
Yeah.
But again... Hermione and him have had a thing like that predates that. So you're the one that's new on the scene, Lavender, not Hermione.
And even if like it was strictly platonic, like between Ron and Hermione, there's still no reason to be like, she was there first. She's his actual friend. Anyway. Yeah.
The whole thing with that pisses me off though, you know. That it's like the whole petty thing with I'm just like, and that there isn't really like anything like that with the male characters. I mean, I guess Harry's felt insecure because of Cedric or stuff like that, but there's never been a weird, like bitchy exchange between a heated exchange between the boys in this way at all. It's weird.
The only time was just when the love potion happened with Ron. And hitting Harry because Harry like made fun of Romilda
when
Vane.
Ron was so out of his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he was
love potion.
Hysterical.
Yeah.
That's when he seemed womanly.
Yeah, yeah.
God.
So dramatic.
So we go to Quidditch. Quidditch is the game is upon us. They are playing Hufflepuff. And they have to beat Zacharias Smith for all the shit he said while he was emceeing last week.
I can't believe I thought Zacharias Smith was a Ravenclaw this whole time.
I thought he was too.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought that. I don't know why we both thought that then. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I think I'm conflating Zacharias Smith with who was Ginny with last year? Michael
Corner. And he was a Ravenclaw.
He was Ravenclaw. And I think they were friends in the DA. I think Michael Corner brought Zacharias. Or maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought he was a Ravenclaw too. But then I checked and he's always been a Hufflepuff. So I was like, oh, okay.
Do you know who also was a Hufflepuff who we haven't heard of in years? Justin Finch-Fletchley.
Where's Justin?
What happened to him? He dropped out apparently.
He dropped out. Is he the same year though?
Yeah.
Oh. So on his way down to the Quidditch match, Harry walks by and sees Malfoy walking away from the Quidditch pitch back up to the castle with two girls.
Some girls.
With some girls. All the girls are girling. With
all
Malfoy.
The girls are girling. All the girls are girling.
They're skipping the Quidditch match, so this is now the second Quidditch match that Malfoy's not attending. What happens? It's weird that she never writes them going to the other, like when Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw play each other.
Oh, I know. No. I've thought about this before too.
Because I actually think this book would be the perfect book to do that.
Yeah. There's one time where because it has to do with like how Gryffindor has to score, she says like Ravenclaw thankfully like
destroyed she just references
Hufflepuff or something. Yeah, but like I don't even think we get that. We never hear what is really happening with it's so dumb. I don't like that. I'm like, girl, you have to give us the info on the other games because they would go.
This would have been.
All
of
be
course,
in
they would go.
Stands.
Well, I think it would be more interesting to Harry be. I mean, he has to not be able to follow Malfoy because he has to go play Quidditch. But like, I think it would have been a fun gag for him to like be at the Quidditch pitch and then look around and then realize Malfoy's not there and then try to find him in the castle or something like that. But then it's too late. By the time he like tries to find him, then it's like the game's over and everybody's back. Yeah. No, we never in any of the other books. We never hear about them like going to watch one of the other matches, which they definitely would. There wouldn't be anything else that they could really do. So just sit in the castle. Mm-hmm. It's so dumb. Not even mentioned. And Harry wouldn't just like if there's a Quidditch match being played, he's not just going to go. Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So he sees Malfoy skipping the Quidditch match with two friends who are girls. He like walks toward them and Malfoy's like, don't you have a Quidditch game to lose or whatever? Very Malfoy energy. And Harry has no retort, really. It's just weird that Malfoy's leaving the match. And he like wants to follow him, but he can't because he has to go play. Yeah. He comes into the changing room like right as the match is about to start. And Ginny's like, where the bloody hell have you been? Where you been, beach?
Where you been, beach?
They go out and they play the game. Cormac McLaggen has decided in practices and in this match that he is the captain of the team. Doesn't go well. Luna Lovegood is commentating. This is hilarious. This is maybe one of my favorite parts of this book is this commentary from Luna Lovegood and how annoyed Professor McGonagall is getting.
I love it. I'm like, yes. Have her do I agree with in the next chapter, Iran is like, you should do all the games. I love it. And I was like, yeah, she should. It's so entertaining.
Well, you know why she should do it and not Zachariah Smith? Because Zachariah Smith is a Quidditch player.
Yeah, exactly.
Why
have the same person do it every game?
Just find a new Lee Jordan.
Yeah, hello?
So she's commentating. She just finally, like, after like a couple, she doesn't know anyone's names. And then she finally except Ginny. And she talks about how like she likes Ginny a lot. And which I thought was actually very cute. Mm-hmm. And then finally she's just stopped talking about the game and apparently is commenting on the shapes of the clouds in the sky, which is so fucking funny.
And so real. This is about for us to be like, yeah, great clouds instead of like sport. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh wow, look at that one that looks like a pony.
So McLaggen at one point has decided that he is going to show one of the beaters, I don't remember their names, the Gryffindor beaters, how to be a beater because Cormac McLaggen is full of himself. I don't know how else to explain it. So he's taken the beater bat and there's a bludger that comes up and Harry's like, give him back the fucking...
Yeah, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Cormac hits the bludger and misses the way it was supposed to go, and it ends up hitting Harry, and the next moment he's in the hospital wing. Hours later.
Wakes up next to Ron, and he's like, oh, hey.
Hey, fancy seeing you here.
Yeah.
So, they lost. Gryffindor lost.
Pretty badly.
The funny thing about Quidditch, genuinely the funniest thing is that there's no second string. They have nobody to like fill in. Which is like the stupidest idea in the world. Like, you don't have to be a muggle to come up with the idea of having replacements ready in a game.
My biggest thing is if the Seeker is out of the game, wouldn't that mean anyone can catch the snitch? Like anyone should be able to just, if they see the snitch, catch it at that point. Because your Seeker is down.
Is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like, the rules are that has to be the Seeker that catches the snitch.
Yeah, because I'm like, then they literally just have to like keep playing until Hufflepuff catches the snitch. That's the only option for how the game ends.
And the option to beat them would just be to like get enough like have the chasers score enough that the 150 points don't matter.
Has there ever been? No, I guess they've never canceled a Quidditch game. Because, like, obviously when Harry fell because of the Dementors, Cedric got the snitch and then was like, I didn't know.
Yeah, it was over then. Yeah.
But because I'm like, has there ever been a game where even if that, no.
No, I think
they just always are like,
the
just
thing
keep
about
playing.
Quidditch is it just, you play until it's over. You play literally until the snitch gets caught. Now, if both Seekers go, what the fuck happens then?
I feel like if both Seekers are out, then someone has to get the snitch, right?
I don't know, because isn't there that story from book 1 where like we should read Quidditch Through the Ages? Isn't there that book of or in book 1, I think someone talks about how there was like a 48 day Quidditch match or whatever.
Yeah.
Would you have to wait until the Seekers are healed and can play again for the game to actually officially end? I don't know.
This is so weird too, because it's like someone was talking about you can bring in subs. No, in one Quidditch match that went on for months, they were constantly bringing in new players. Literally, what you were talking about. Bringing in new players so the other ones could sleep and relax. But then someone else was saying Quidditch Through the Ages says the game can end at any time if the captains agree, so the game won't last forever. Of course, in a league decided by point differential, this doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's Quidditch for you. I'm like, I don't know. The captains are like, okay, call it. Both our Seekers are down.
Well, I mean, Harry's the captain, so he can't even call this one.
Yeah, exactly. That's a whole other thing, though.
What if the Seekers are the captains? And both of them go down. Goofy. What a goofy fucking game.
We'll never know. Yeah.
Because there's no coach.
No.
There's just the captain who's the person on the team also playing.
And then like the referee, but the referee doesn't even...
The referee just really blows the whistle when someone like hits someone else. That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
A foul.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in the hospital wing. He cracked his skull. Madame Pomfrey obviously already mended it, but she's keeping him overnight to make sure that he heals completely. Harry's obviously pissed about losing this game.
Yeah.
He is not happy. And Ron is probably gleeful, at least, that it's definitely Cormac McLaggen is not staying on this team.
Yeah. He's like, well, that sucks, but I'm kind of glad that it didn't go well when I wasn't there, selfishly.
So Harry again is like, oh, so here's what I saw. I saw Malfoy leaving before I went down with these two girls. Again, this school is so small. I don't know how you don't know these girls, but okay. He goes down with these two girls, blah, blah, blah. And Ron's a little like, no, I believe you. Yeah, for sure. But like, he just didn't go to the Quidditch game. There's no, what did he do?
That doesn't prove anything. Yeah.
Proves he's a loser and doesn't like Quidditch. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Harry has a great idea. Ron has fallen asleep. And Harry's like, wait a minute. I need someone to follow Malfoy around this fucking castle. You know who's here in this fucking castle that can do that? My house elf. So he summons Creature. Then Creature shows up with Dobby.
Yeah.
As they were having a fight. And then Peeves shows up. Because why the fuck not?
He was watching.
He was watching the fight.
Also, sorry, they're fighting about Harry. This is where I get annoyed because I'm like, Harry, there are other people and things that exist in the world. Like, she couldn't have had them fighting about something else. It's so dumb that he summons them and then what they were fighting about was him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was the whole thing of like when Harry, in book 3, when Harry sneaks out to Hogsmeade.
Yes,
that, like,
and Ron and Hermione are talking about
him. I was like, Please stop. Please stop, Joe. Other things exist.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
That's why I like in the movie 3 when they don't know Harry's with them. They're just like they're not talking about Harry. They're just like talking about what's around.
Yeah, they're
them.
like flirting a little bit.
They're a little flirting.
Yeah.
But it's not about Harry for sure.
No.
So, yes, Creature and Dobby are fighting about Harry, which is very stupid.
Physically.
Like literally physically.
Wrestling.
Like fisticuffs.
Fist fighting, yeah.
Yeah. Harry casts the Muffliato spell on Madame Pomfrey's office so that she doesn't hear what's going on. Ron is now awake at this point because they've cracked into the room and they're obviously loud as hell fighting. He commands them to stop fighting because Creature's his house elf.
Has to listen to him, yeah.
And Dobby obviously respects Harry, so he would listen to him anyway.
It's just like, yeah, sure.
He's also cast a spell at Peeves, causing the tongue to be stuck to the roof of his mouth. So then Peeves is like, I can't even talk, and so he's mad and leaves.
I can't even talk.
There's a lot of Peeves in this book. I almost want to say this feels like the most Peeves out of any book in the series. There's so much Peeves.
I still forget about Peeves sometimes. Like when Peeves pops back up again, I'm like, oh yeah, you're a thing throughout this whole series. Yeah.
You're a constant presence in these children's lives. Yeah. So obviously Creature hates Harry. This is not news to anyone. Yeah. If you've been reading this book series or listening to this podcast. But he decides that he's going to have Creature tail Malfoy, follow him and report back every single thing that he does, who he talks to, where he goes, what's the what. And then he's like, okay, you can't tell Malfoy, you can't hint to Malfoy, you can't reveal yourself to Malfoy, you cannot.
Can't send him messages, can't write him notes.
No, you can't text him.
Finds all the loopholes.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so Creature begrudgingly decides that he will
all right,
follow this order. And then Dobby's like, I'm going to also do this too, because I think this will be really fun for me as a person who has a job otherwise to add this onto my plate. And that's pretty much the end of the chapter. That's where it ends. Harry has concocted this device to use the house elves for his bidding.
I hate to point this out, but I just want to say that Joe Rowling thought it would be funny to say that Dobby would throw himself like off the roof if he didn't do it right too, by the way. Yep. Also, Dobby like knocked out Creature's teeth.
Yes.
She literally said he knocked out half of his teeth.
Half of his teeth were knocked out. Yeah.
This is what I'm saying, that I'm like, this is fun for you to write about? Like, I'm just like, the whole slave thing in general is not great. But when she has it, it's like, it's bad enough when you hear about Dobby hurting himself, which I think we might get some more of, because obviously him tailing Draco is like going to be a little bit triggering for him because he's used to having to keep the Malfoy family secrets. So when he is, you know what I mean? But again, it's like, in addition to that, she's having like the teeth being knocked out and the whole like, I'm going to throw myself off the tower. I don't have any care for my own life because I'm just a slave.
Live in service to Harry Potter. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, oh my God.
There's actually,
I don't like it.
There's actually more house elf characters we get to interact with in the next chapter, Ari.
Oh, yeah. Don't you worry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good old Hokey.
You put your right foot in, you put your right foot.
And you shake it all about. Okay. That wraps up this chapter. Next week, we will be reading chapter 20, Lord Voldemort's Request. We actually did get a comment on one of our previous episodes, 517. Adam, if you wanted to.
This is from Rena Delez. They say, I do really love this podcast and I've had fun going through the backlog. You've been keeping me sane at work the last 2 weeks. Could you imagine? I'm sorry, just to pause. Could you imagine binging this fucking nonsense that we talk about?
Oh my gosh, no. Bless all of you that do that.
It's wild.
Yeah.
I will say this episode is the most uncomfortable I've been when you got to the stairs. So this is the book 5. Harry, Ron try to run up the stairs to go to the girls' dormitory.
Is it 5?
And
oh
yes,
my gosh.
It's 5. And it turns into a slide, and they learn that there's an enchantment that the girls' dormitories have against any boys. Just 2 short comments I want to make there. 1, trans men are a thing. They felt ignored for just trans women, as happens so often. The men are trash thing feels a lot like, well, trans men aren't real men. Mm-hmm. I think this is I think this is such a good point that we obviously in our conversation didn't make. We weren't talking about trans men. And it's true. The whole problem overarching with everything. And I'll read the second part of the comment and then talk about it. The big bad for this whole series is born out of a woman assaulting a man. So the slide feels as tone deaf as the love potion when Joe is trying to treat it like a joke. I'll say with all this, I'm an AFAB bi-gender person. So I think this comment makes so much sense. The overarching problem is that Joe is trying to treat all these things with like this light, treating like sexual assault, treating like, and that's what like the stairs turning into a slide is like, it's to protect the girls' dormitory from sexual assault.
Yeah.
Ostensibly, that's what it's there for. But like making it a joke in the series. Yeah. Like, isn't it funny that it turns into a slide and the boys are like, whoopsie daisy? Like, and so in our conversation, obviously, like, I remember talking about this because I was like, I felt uncomfortable as like someone who would have wanted to go see my girlfriends, blah, blah, blah. I think it's weird.
Yeah.
But also like, there's not sexual assault happens anywhere
to anyone.
At any time to anybody.
Men
like,
and women,
men and women of all genders, like all gender expressions.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated this comment because I was like, we definitely did not talk about trans women. I think I brought up trans women. I didn't go back and listen to the episode, but I think I brought up trans women to point out like this conversation is so muddied and confused in general because Joe has this binary way of looking at every single thing.
Yeah.
And so when you start to pull apart the layers and be like, no, there's actual nuance here. The whole thing falls the fuck apart.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's what, like, I mean, we talked a little bit, obviously, about this before we were recording, and I was like, no, there's some good points in this. And I was saying, like, I guess I want to clarify that, like, I would always feel more comfortable around any trans person versus a cisgendered man. But even when I said that to Adam, I was like, oh, but maybe I'm accidentally not thinking a trans man is a man then. So, and that's like me have had many friends that are trans men, like living in LA and all that kind of stuff. So, and known women that were trans women and stuff like that. So it's just like, it's one of those things that it's like, even when we are very forward thinking people or very like, you know, open to
or
any
at least
gender
trying
expression.
to be, yeah.
Just like we're trying to be, and would think like, oh, I'm very accepting. Yeah, we can still mess up or not acknowledge like trans men are a real thing that exists in the world. And so, I think that is, thank you for the comment and addressing that. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that that's kind of just the reality of how she's written these books, that even when we are trying to kind of address these things, like we can leave things out as well. So, I mean, good call out. And sorry that was kind of an uncomfortable episode to listen to, because we were definitely uncomfortable too. I remember when we were talking about it.
I remember bringing it up and being like, "Oh, I don't know if I should even be talking about this." But I mean, I think I thought it was a really good comment. I was really glad this person commented this because it like helped us see another point of view that we hadn't obviously thought about when we were talking about it. So thank you for especially writing in.
The tone deaf thing around the love potion too. Like, I think we're all in agreement of how the love potion is like so sinister and like bad. And she just kind of writes love potions as like this fun little thing that women do. And I'm like, That is
the
taking
women,
a
yes,
person's
the women
consent
do.
away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the women do. And I'm like, that's taking these people's consent away. It is not a funny little lighthearted thing. So yeah, I think there's a lot with her gendered way of thinking about things that it's just like, oh God, which I'm glad there's so many of us that know better. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's still things that like we're going to mess up on too. So
yeah.
Thanks for
Thank you for writing in. Yeah.
Thank you for your comments. We love hearing what you guys think. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts, as well as video versions on the Ampliverse YouTube channel and Spotify. As always, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so that we can get a perfect Newt score. 5 stars only, or else you'll have to like deal with McLagan for a week.
You're gonna get hit with a bludger from someone on your own team,
and you're gonna have to listen to McLagan like shout what he thinks everyone should be doing over you at whatever practice you're at. I don't know. You have to deal with McLagan. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HBAnxious or YouTube and TikTok at the Ampliverse. We are hosted on Spotify for podcasters, so thank you to them and are a proud member of the Ampliverse. Check them out at theampliverse.com. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you. I just want to point out that the way Friedrich is like kind of off screen, it looks like he's like his little paw, he's like under the covers and his paws are like coming out, like he's like laying down and it's like up this. Yeah.
It looks like now I can't unsee
it. He's just like like the grandparents and that was
he
knew we were
funny.
talking about him. He got embarrassed.
Oh my God, please use that for the clip for this episode, even though it's at the end. Oh, so cute. Okay. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Ari.
And as always, Knox.